everyone, my name's Aishani and I'm the president of Loudoun Community Press.
I'm Kalia, I'm the vice president of Loudoun Community Press.
And I'm Isa, I'm the secretary of Loudoun Community Press.
Welcome to our new project, the Press Pod by Loudoun Community Press. We will be touching on all sorts of topics related to the high school experience.
Hi, I'm Sabri.
And I'm Jenny Kate.
And welcome to the Loudoun Community Press podcast.
Today we're talking about teenage movies and media and how they've shaped our experiences and views of high school.
Okay, so I feel like when I think in my head about classic high school media, first thought, High School Musical.
I agree. I think it's definitely because it was a series that came out during our childhoods. I feel like that shaped the way we viewed high school before we had even reached that step in our lives. So.
Yeah, I'm a senior now, and I remember being in elementary school watching it and being like, high school. and that was the thought that I had. And obviously I knew there wasn't going to be a singing basketball team, but I thought the plot lines of the characters would be something that I experienced. I'd be like, oh my gosh, yes, cliques, not being able to be multifaceted. I was like, the drama, the passion, and then it's not true at all.
Yeah, and the locker culture too, that was a big thing. And now at the school I go to, we don't ever use lockers.
We don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, in my head I was like, oh, decorate my locker. Have you seen Victorious?
I have not seen Victorious. So.
Well, Victorious is a Nickelodeon show. I know rivaling companies, Disney, Nickelodeon, but I feel like this is an important comparison. And High School Musical, they focus a lot on talking by the lockers. In Victorious, it's a performing arts school and everyone has their locker decorated.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was going to be my high school experience. I'd be like Gabriella by the lockers, talking to all my friends, worrying about my science test. We don't use lockers.
Yeah. And also Sharpay's locker, that
iconic.
Yeah. I thought that was gonna be me, my 2 pink lockers, but did not happen.
I feel like at my school, it's not similar to High School Musical in the sense that the cliques, I think there's groups of people that are friends, but there's not a clique necessarily.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like in my experience, I don't have just one group of friends that I'm in, so I feel like I kind of move in and out of spaces. So but I definitely thought that I would growing up at high school was very cliquey and stuff, but
the I don't dance, it's I don't dance. I really thought people were out there being oh my gosh, you have to choose sports or theater. You can be smart, but you can't be in the musical too. I thought it was I don't know why I thought it was gonna be more rigid. I think at my school people are a lot of multifaceted people.
I agree. Yeah, I think people definitely are much more complex than just one aspect of their life, like theater or sports. I feel like people have a lot more going on, and especially now with how college applications are, people want to be involved in a lot of things. So I feel like it's very rare that you find someone who's just so engrossed in one sphere of their school.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy the way, because I feel like it's not just High School Musical, every single Disney Channel original movie, it's the character has one thing that they're really good at, which sure, a lot of people have one thing that they love to do, but I feel like they do more than just one thing. And I think about it and I'm I think largely it is because of college applications and people having more access to stuff. Now we have social media, and it's you look one day and you see a girl cooking or someone doing their own nails, and you're oh my gosh, I should try that out. And back then they didn't have that.
Yeah, I think it might be the way it'd be interesting to see how school was back in the day, if it was at all similar to High School Musical, or or High School Musical is just entirely fake.
Yeah. I feel another movie is I forget what they're called, but the ones with the 80s, Pretty in Pink.
Oh, the Brat Pack.
Yes.
Movies,
yes.
Yeah.
That's what they call the group. Because I remember watching 16 Candles, And I watched that movie and I was like, that's kind of crazy, because why is he a senior?
Yeah, that sort of thing, that is not socially acceptable.
It's not okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you would not. Like, I feel like people are even scared to, like, date people just, like, a year younger than them. Like, I feel like people don't really do that. Like, I feel like, I mean, there are people who do it, but I feel like people definitely, I feel like there's the way that each grade works, I feel like each grade tries to, like, uphold, like, a
hierarchy?
Yeah, like a power structure kind of, but not really. But, like, you know, there's definitely, like, the seniors, they're not gonna want to, like, associate with, like, freshmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also a type thing where, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a senior now, but I was literally talking to a freshman that's in one of my electives, and I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of, like, the Draw My Life YouTube era. And she was like, I don't even remember that. And I was like, no, you remember, it was 2014. I was like, I was 8. She was like, and I was 4. I was like, oh.
That, yeah.
Oh. I was like, oh, that's not. Wait, 2014, I would think I was 8. Wait, how old was? Oh, no, I was like 8, 6 or something like that. But she was like, I was a child. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like a baby.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, there is a difference, like, because now I'm a junior, and I feel like every year I know fewer and fewer people in the school, because I knew all of the seniors my freshman year. I knew all the juniors because they were older than me, so I was like, oh, like, I know, I kind of looked up to them in a way.
yeah.
But now that I'm a junior, like, I feel like I only know, like, half the people in my grade, and then, like, a bunch of the seniors, and then everyone else I'm kind of a little lost about what's going on. But it's crazy to think that, like, that you're going to school, if you're a senior, you're going to school with freshmen who have kind of, they've lived it, like, different, like, periods of,
Yes.
like, social media, and, yeah, that's weird.
It's crazy to think about. And I think that's something that when you're watching the shows, like in the movies and stuff, you're not taking that into account, because, like, first it's like they know every single person in their class. Like, what? How big were their high school classes? 50 people?
Yeah.
Because, like, my graduating class is, like, over 400 kids. I don't know them. Like,
Yeah. I don't know half the people in my class. People will, like, mention, like, people, and, like, I don't know who that is.
I don't know. I'm telling my friends, I'm like, what do they look like? Like, what's their vibe? What's their aura?
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to give me some characteristics. I don't know names.
Mm-hmm.
I may not even know their face. Like, and I remember watching, have you ever seen, like, Geek Charming?
I have not.
No, you have to watch it, but it's another
I'm a little behind.
Disney movie, and it's about this popular girl who, like, gets helped by a geek, like, to make her the equivalent of, like, prom queen,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's, like, called, like, Blossom Queen video for, like, campaigning, and he needs a, like, subject for his film project, and of course throughout the plot they, like, fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
But a big part of it is, like, she's super popular, and, like, everyone knows her and her friend group as, like, being super popular. And she, like, hides her true self of, like, liking, like, sci-fi movies. And she's like, no one can know I'm a little bit of a geek. And I think about that because I'm like, the power dynamic between, like, the idea of, like, being popular, I think is so subjective, especially in today's age of high school. Because it's like, you can be, like, your traditionally popular people aren't well known, if that makes sense. I feel like
Right.
each group of kids or each hobby has their popular people.
Right, I agree. I think there's people who are well known, like, amongst the entire class, but I do think that people do tend to know people who are in the same, like, spheres as them more. Like, I think that, like, for example, I take, like AP classes, and I feel like I'm in, like, I have the same group of people in each of my classes. I see all those people, and so, like, I imagine that it's, like, completely different in just, like an academic class is probably going to have, like, people who are in those classes repeatedly know the same people in those classes. Like, it's not, I definitely see that a lot. Like,
The idea of, like, who's popular, who's not, who do you know, who don't you know. I can imagine myself at, like, graduation, and they're, like, they get on, like, name, like, whatever name. I'm like, who is that? Like, they're walking up. I'm like, I've never seen this person in my life.
right.
I feel like, how do you feel that, like, work and like schoolwork is kind of shown throughout these movies, and do you think that's accurate?
See, I feel like in these movies, they're never doing work.
They are.
They're never doing work. And that definitely, as a child, that was, obviously did not set a realistic expectation for what high school would be like, because most of what I do is work.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm not doing all these, I'm not having all these crazy plot twists, and, yeah, it's mostly work.
Yeah, and like, I'm always, okay, back to High School Musical, it's so iconic. But do you know how, like, people are like, why does Chad never carry a bag? Like, he always has, like, a basketball.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone always has work. Like, they never show the work. And I looked it up, like, the other day, how many hours are, like, in a school year. And it's, like, the least amount of hours in Virginia school per school year is 990 hours at school.
Dang.
And I was like, that's 41 days, basically, straight at school. That's a lot of time.
Right.
And, like, I'm doing work. I'm grinding it out.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not doing work. And I also think that plays into, like, when you said, like, the basketball,
Yeah.
like, just, like, the stereotypes of, like, each, like, group of people. Like, you'll see, like, nerdy people in these movies, like, they have backpacks
Yeah.
and stuff. But then, like, the popular kids, like, they're just carrying around, like, their phones or something. Like, everyone kind of has, like, an item in these movies that is supposed to kind of, like, symbolize what kind of character they are. Which, again, is, like, not really accurate, because no one in, like, high school, like, if you're a basketball player, you're not carrying a basketball
Yeah.
around.
Can you imagine that? Like, you'll be like, oh, what do you do? And they whip out an object. They're like, I'm a painter. And they have, like, a pen or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fashion, too, is definitely something.
Do you feel like in the movies it's better or it's worse than in real life?
It depends. It depends on the movie. I wouldn't say it's, like, either better or worse. I wouldn't dress how they dress, but I don't think it's, like, bad. Like, I think it's very, like, cinematic, but it's not accurate, I guess. Like, no one's showing up to school in a beret.
I think it's like, you know those skits that they'll do on social media? It's like POV, girl who went to Paris over the summer. It's like, I feel like that was the mold of like 2000 movies.
Right.
They would always have one character like in a little scarf or something. You'd be like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I guess it was like 2000s fashion, but at the same time I'm like, no way this was like accurate to how high school is dressed, because I know sweatpants existed. Like,
Yeah, like, I think it's something about, like, a lot of high school movies is that they're usually made by people who weren't very recently in high school, so they kind of, there's a disconnect between, reality.
Mhm.
But also, I do think that, also, the way that high school is portrayed in these movies, I don't think the people making the movies, that their high school experiences were at all similar to, like, I don't think it was just, like, a, like, past versus present sort of thing. I think there's just an overall, like, disconnect with,
Mhm.
like, high school.
then also it's like they're creating these movies. A lot of them are like, if they're not old, then it's like, why is the movie taking place in like New York City when you grew up in like Minnesota? Like,
Right.
there's like a
Yeah.
disconnect of how like the lives look, and they also want to make everything way more glamorous than what it actually is. I remember watching like, I used to watch I watched so much reality TV. But I feel like even reality TV, because it's like heightened, everything's heightened, and when you have a reality TV show cast with like kids and like teenagers, and like you'll watch that. Like, have you ever seen like I think it's called My Sweet 16, and it's basically this show.
Oh, they're, like, planning, like, this.
Yes!
Yeah, or they, like, the quinceañera ones.
Yes.
I've seen them.
I would binge watch those on YouTube. Not accurate, because what do you mean? Like, you're actively handing out invitations and the whole school sees you.
Yeah.
Why is no one in
That's
class?
crazy. Yeah.
Like,
Well, so I never had a, like, Sweet 16 or, like, I don't know, like, a big party like that, you know what I mean? Did you have something?
yeah, I had a Sweet 16, but look, like, it wasn't like a huge party. It was like 10 of my friends,
Yeah.
which I guess that's like a pretty good size.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have a twin sister, so like we had it together. So it was about like 10 of our friends, and like we ate, we danced, we did karaoke. I can't sing, but I tried. And so that was like my Sweet 16 experience. But I think like also that's another thing in the movies. Why is it always it's like a crazy rager?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my
Project
gosh,
X.
my parents, yeah, it's like my parents' car got stolen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How'd this happen?
Yeah, and for some reason everyone knows about everyone at school knows about the parties. Like, personally, I've never heard about an actual like party going on.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and she was like, oh yeah, I went to this party. And so when I guess because like the media's just conditioned us to think of a party as like a crazy event or as like specifically like a birthday party, and I was like, oh, who's having a party? She's like, oh yeah, me, and she named like 3 other people, and in my head I was like, that's just like a hangout. I think.
Yeah, I think the way I see parties is shaped by these like epic rager parties that they have in movies, and I think that's part of why I see like actual high school parties as a bit of a disappointment. Like, like you guys are just in someone's basement. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I remember like, and also like school trips. Like, I went to New York with like yearbook journalism and like the Lyric magazine, and people are like, because you know in the movies people are like trying to sneak out, people are like getting lost in the city. No, we literally have like people are literally all texting, where is everyone? Like, people are Google mapping how to get back to the hotel. Like, no one is trying to sneak out, everyone is trying to stay in place.
Right. Yeah, when I went to Boston with like journalism, and we had like a buddy system, like yeah, like it was not like we were there to learn.
It was never a rager.
Yeah, it was never gonna be like that. But yeah, that reminds me of have you seen, it's not a Disney movie, but have you seen Monte Carlo?
Yes.
Yeah. And then that's not a high school trip, but
it's like their senior trip though.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know, I guess just the idea of like that kind of romanticized the idea of like once I graduate high school, like everything's gonna turn out for me. Yeah. But yeah, how do you see that movie?
Oh my gosh, that movie makes me, I love the movie because like Selena Gomez, I think the songs all like eat, but I'm like, why are you lying? Like, that tore my little heart in half. I was like, no, don't lie, just be yourself, he'll still like you. And like, but I think the movie is like the ideal trip in this sense that's like you're with all your best friends, you're being like treated so nicely, and you're having so much fun, and it's like all these luxury experiences. And like in my head that'd be like the ideal senior trip minus lying. But then at the same time, when I think about it, I'm like, I feel like this couldn't happen because I don't know, I feel like I would need an adult if I'm going international.
Right. And
like even though like I'm technically adult at 18, like I'm 18, I don't feel like an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't, my parents would never let me go to like Europe as
we're just like, wee, I'm in Paris. Where's that from, Gossip Girl? Like, the sounds.
Yeah. Oh, Gossip Girl is another interesting portrayal of high school. That is, whatever they're doing in that show, I mean, it's not accurate to any of my high school experience.
I haven't, like, sat down and actually watched Gossip Girl, but, like, I've seen enough of it to be like, oh, this is crazy, because why are there sabotages, affairs, like...
Yeah.
I'm like, huh? These are high schoolers?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is, like, literally, like, people in their 30s. Like, why do you have a full life like this? It's too much.
Yeah, and I think, like, the first season, when it began, they were supposed to be beginning junior year.
Okay.
And as a junior now...
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, because they started the show, and there was just so much lore already built up between the characters. And, yeah. It's
I wonder
if
partly it's because now we're more tech savvy.
Because
I feel like if there was... Well, also besides, like, the crazy plot lines, if there was someone like XOXO, Gossip Girl, I feel like I know 5 people that will, like, trace her IP address and, like, figure out who this person was. Like,
yeah, nowadays, like, I feel like it'd be hard for them to actually have a successful run as Gossip Girl.
people be like, I feel like it's this person.
Yeah. Already now with, like, I don't know if your school has these, but we have a lot of, like, meme or...
Oh,
we have
yeah.
like, senior superlative accounts, which the school doesn't want us to have. And I know there's already speculation about, like, who could be running these accounts.
Exactly.
So...
And also, I feel like my go-to tell, like, for senior superlatives or, like, the meme accounts is I'm just like, okay, who are they posting? Because that's probably their friends. And then it's like,
yeah.
you just work backwards from the friend group and, like, immediately are able to tell.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And who they're following, too. That says a lot.
That says so much. Yeah, I feel like the only, like, piece of media that's, like, I've watched that takes place within high school would be, like, Netflix shows now. So, like, I watched, like, Young Royals,
Oh,
which
yes.
is, like, Swedish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that show.
That show's good, but it's, like, so unrealistic because,
I
like,
know,
it's, like,
I
about the
know.
Prince of Sweden and, like, him falling in love at boarding school. And then I watched, Julie and the Panthers.
I feel I've definitely heard of that, but I haven't seen.
It's like this girl, she sees ghosts and like they sing and she sings and it got canceled after one season.
Oh,
but yeah, I was like, stop. But that was unrealistic too.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
for obvious reasons.
for obvious reasons. But I feel like nothing's ever like super duper realistic still.
Yeah, and I think I think that's part of the reason why those kind of shows and movies are successful though, is because they present an idealized version of high school. And if they were to just show how high school is in reality, no one's watching.
Yeah, I want to be like, what's it called? Placed in their world. Like, you know, I want the escapism a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the escapism that really draws people to watching that sort of media.
I think one thing that they're doing now, though, they are making a push to have younger actors, which I think helps. Well, some shows are. Some shows are having younger actors. Some shows have, like, 30-year-olds.
Right, yeah.
But I think when it's a younger actor, you're like, okay, this looks more realistic, so it feels more realistic.
Right. And I will say, like, with Young Royals, even though as a whole it wasn't super realistic, there were some aspects that I liked. Like, I liked that a lot of the actors themselves had, like, acne and stuff. And that was something that a lot of people can relate to. And it just made it feel more real. That, like, because you know people who, you know, like, they look like teenagers.
Yeah. It's not like Twilight, like, they're in the gym 24/7. Like, yeah, I remember the actor of Young Royals, like, Edmund Writing, he, like, tweeted out, people were like, oh, is this makeup? I love the makeup of the acting. He's like, no, that was my skin!
Yeah.
So I really like that aspect. But I think overall, the landscape of high school media is always going to have a big impact of, like, how high schoolers, well, pre-high schoolers, like, middle schoolers see themselves, and then high schoolers are always going to kind of be like, that's unrealistic, but we're going to keep watching it.
Right. Like, I think it's something we, like, pretend that we, like, don't like, but, you know, like, obviously I'd love to have, I'd love to live like Sharpay with their 2 lockers.
Yes, I need that space. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.